Okay, we're back on the record on case CR 22-21-1624, State of Idaho versus Lori Noreen Vallow. The state's continuing with its case in chief. Detective Kunsaitis is on the stand still for direct examination. I'll remind you, you're still under oath for your testimony today. You were sworn yesterday. The jurors are all present and accounted for. Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, for continuing to comply with the court's admonishment each day. We received your affirmations this morning and appreciate that. So with that in mind, Mr. Wood, if you'd like to continue with your direct examination at this time, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. To start off with, I'm going to move for admission of State's Exhibit 82. It's an affidavit of records custodian for Blue Sky Property Management. This was a document that we thought had come in with the big list yesterday, but had not. So by way of stipulation, I'm going to move for that exhibit to be entered.
All right. Is there any objection to State's Exhibit 82 being admitted?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right. Exhibit 82 will be admitted.
Detective, yesterday we had spoken about the finances of Lori Vallow and Tylee Ryan. Do you have the same folder with you that you had yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have State's Exhibit 68A? Your Honor, I just ask for the bailiff to be able to hand the witness a copy of State's Exhibit 68A.
Yes, you may.
Detective, do you recognize State's Exhibit 68A?
I do.
What is it?
This is the finance vehicle application for a loan for Chrysler Financial for Charles Vallow in reference to a purchase of a 2018 Jeep Wrangler.
Okay. Your Honor, may I publish for the jury?
You may.
Detective, what was significant about this document in your investigation?
Well, when we were reviewing the financial records, as I mentioned yesterday, Tylee was having vehicle loan payments withdrawn from her Chase Morgan account. That's the 3918 account. And they were showing withdrawals of $599.09 for this vehicle.
Okay. When did those payments start?
The vehicle was purchased in April, and the first payment that came out from Tylee's account was in June of 2019.
Okay. When was the last payment?
Well, there were payments for June, July, and August, and those are the payments that were successfully taken out.
Okay. What happened after August?
Well, as we alluded to yesterday, when the monies for Tylee's Social Security were moved or transitioned from her Chase account into Lori Vallow's personal account, the BBVA account, the September car payment came back as insufficient funds from that Chase Morgan account of Tylee's.
And so it was set up on, was it set up on automatic withdrawal?
They were.
Okay. And so after September, were any payments made on that Jeep?
No.
Okay. Detective, are you familiar with a Jeep that was seized by the Rexburg Police Department in November of 2019?
I am.
Is this that same Jeep?
This is the same vehicle.
Okay. To your knowledge, was that Jeep ever reported missing or stolen to the Rexburg Police Department?
It was not reported to any law enforcement agency that we were aware of.
Okay, and to clarify it, to make sure I'm clear, the Rexburg Police Department seized that Jeep, correct?
Yes, our department seized that Jeep on November 4th of 2019, and the vehicle was in the area of the Rock Creek townhome where Ms. Vallow resided.
Okay. Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 88A?
88A,
Yes. Do you recognize that document?
is this the email from Kauai Dreams Realty?
Yes.
Yes.
Your Honor, may I publish?
Yes.
That's kind of hard to read on that, Elmo, but what is the significance of this document to your investigation?
Well, as we're looking for the kids prior to the days that they were found,
Detective, what was the significance of this document?
well, in trying to generate information to find the kids, we would monitor social media sites, and this information came up on one of the social media sites, so we followed up on it to see the validity of it. I reached out and spoke with Julie Black, the owner and chief broker for Kauai Dreams Realty in Hawaii. And this is an email that is dated November 8th of 2019 that Chad Daybell sent to Julie Black at Kauai Dreams Realty.
Okay, and is the body of the email on this document?
It is.
Can you read that?
Yes. Mr. Daybell writes, "We're interested in seeing this property. Would the owners be interested in leasing this property to a clean couple with no pets or children? Please let us know. Thank you."
What is the date on that document, on that email?
It's November 8th of 2019, 3 days after they were married.
Okay. What was the significance of that to you in your investigation?
Well, they're looking for a residence and telling them that they don't have any children.
Okay. Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 90A?
90A.
Yes. What is that document?
This is a subscriber information for Sparklight or Cable One in Rexburg in the name of Lori Vallow for the apartment of 565 Pioneer Road, apartment 175 in Rexburg.
Your Honor, may I publish?
Yes.
Detective, whose name is on the cover page of that document?
Lori Vallow.
Is there an email associated with it?
There is.
Okay. What was the significance of these documents to your investigation?
Well, two things stand out. This confirms that they moved up to the area. As it's stated, the creation date for this document was September 3rd, so they had moved from Arizona up. But it also shows that she's living in requesting service subscription for apartment 175 when she, as you recall yesterday on her rental lease agreement, it was for apartment 107.
Okay. And who actually lived in apartment 107 pursuant to your investigation?
Her brother, Alex Cox.
Okay. So just to clarify, Lori Vallow leased apartment 107,
Yes,
but she lived in 175.
correct.
Okay. Is there anything else in these documents that are significant?
As it shows an IP address established for the account.
Okay. Does it show any type of internet history or that aided your investigation?
Yeah, well, there was Venmo transactions made from this IP address for this account.
Okay. And so were you able to track those transactions?
Yes.
Okay. Detective, will you look at State's Exhibit 90B? B as in boy.
Okay.
What is that document?
This is a subscriber account generation for Cable One Sparklight in the name of Alex Cox.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I publish?
Yes.
What is the significance of that document to your investigation?
This shows that the subscribing residence was for apartment 107.
Okay. Thank you. Was there anything else significant about that document to your investigation?
There was IP addresses associated with this account that were used in the investigation.
Okay. Detective, if you'll look at State's Exhibit 91A.
Okay.
Do you recognize that document?
I do.
What is it?
This is a document from the Windstream Communications Company in reference to an IP address that we had inquired about.
Okay. May I publish, Your Honor?
You may.
what is significant about this document that aided your investigation?
Well, we had learned that Tylee's Venmo account was used, and an IP address associated with it was documented. So we followed up on that, and we learned that the IP address was through the Windstream Communications. And when we contacted them, they say that yes, they are in charge of issuing IP addresses through their communications company, and the IP address specifically was issued to the Residence Inn airport in Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay. And why was that important for you to know?
Well, on October 10th of 2019, the $100 Venmo transaction was made, and we know through flight records that Lori accompanied her niece Melanie Boudreau Pulowski from Phoenix to Kansas City, Missouri, to visit friends, and the transaction was made through using Tylee's phone from the information we had.
Does this document show those transactions?
It does.
Can you go to that page? What does this document show?
These are recorded Venmo transactions to Tylee Ryan's account.
Made from that IP address that you were discussing?
Yes. On 1010, the third row down, it shows $100 sent to Kobe Ryan with the message, "We love you." And there's the IP address there. That is the same IP address that we were able to validate from the Kansas City, Missouri Residence Inn.
And Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 92A?
Not showing it here currently. I'll have to just give me a moment. I can leave.
Your Honor, may I publish it for the detective to see?
Yes.
Detective, do you recognize that document?
Yes.
What is it?
This is the folio that we obtained from the Residence Inn in the name of Melanie Boudreau, and this confirms that our information, that with the flight information, that they were in Kansas City.
Okay, and can you remind the jury who Melanie Boudreau is?
Melanie is the niece of Lori Vallow.
Okay. And how many guests stayed with her at the Residence Inn?
Up here on the top right, number of guests states 2.
Okay. And in the state's previous exhibit, that IP address was tracked to that Residence Inn, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. A detective, how would that IP address be located, or what was the significance of that IP address being located there?
Well, we know that, if I understand your question correctly, we know that through our investigation that Tylee or JJ didn't make that trip.
Okay.
And it was issued to, I think it was used on Tylee's phone.
Okay. Detective, I want to talk to you briefly about the beginning of your investigation. At any time, did you engage in any type of search for pharmaceutical records for J.J. Vallow?
Yes.
What was the purpose of doing that?
Well, in cases, missing person cases and things, if we have a general idea of where a person had lived or is living, we can inquire to the state or area to see if there was any prescriptions that were filled. It's a tool or resource we use in law enforcement.
Okay. And is that a way to locate an individual?
Yes.
Okay. And do you do that through a state agency?
We do.
Okay. What's the process for doing that?
We reach out to it's in Idaho, it's the state prescription monitoring program. Each state has a variation of the same thing. We'll reach out to them and we will submit our request, and they will run checks for the information we submit.
Okay. And what states, did you do this search with states other than Idaho?
Yes.
What states did you do that with?
I inquired to Arizona, the state of Hawaii, and the state of Montana.
Did you find any records of prescriptions being filled in any of those states?
No, not for the time frame
Okay.
we were inquiring.
What was the time frame that you asked those states to look at?
It was for 2019.
Detective, will you look at States Exhibit 94A?
Okay.
It's a little hard to read, but can you turn to the page marked 1 of 2 regarding J.J. Vallow? And Your Honor, may I publish?
You may.
Detective, did you receive this from the state of Hawaii?
I did.
And what did those records show you?
Having trouble seeing in the lighting to read this, so.
The writing's small.
It shows that there were prescriptions filled in 2015 and 2017.
Okay. But were there any prescriptions filled in 2019 for J.J. Vallow in Hawaii?
No.
Okay. Did you do a similar search in the state of Montana?
Yes.
Why would you do such a search in Montana?
Early investigation, there was, I believe it was a tip that was called in, and we followed up on that the children may be possibly being held in a compound in Montana.
Okay. And so was this was an effort to follow up on that tip?
Correct.
Will you look at States Exhibit 95A?
Okay.
Did you submit multiple names to the Montana Prescription Drug Registry for JJ?
I did.
Why was that?
Well, in the course of our investigation, we found that JJ his name had been changed on a couple of follow-ups, I guess we would say, and that JJ would go from Vallow or Ryan, and so we would use those names.
Okay. Detective, Your Honor, may I publish?
You may.
Do you recognize that document?
I do.
What is it?
This is the paperwork we received from the state of Montana from their prescription monitoring program in the name of J.J. Ryan.
Okay. Were any prescriptions found for J.J. Ryan in Montana?
No.
Okay, I'm going to go to the next page. Were any prescriptions found for Joshua Jackson Vallow in Montana?
No.
And were any prescriptions found for Joshua Jackson Vallow?
No.
Okay. Did you submit any other names to the state of Montana?
Did.
What was the purpose? What names did you submit?
Those for Tylee Ryan?
Were there any medications found for Tylee Ryan?
No.
Okay. And did you submit any other names?
I believe we submitted for Lori Vallow as well.
Do you know if you submitted for Melanie Boudreau?
Yes, we did.
What was the purpose of submitting Melanie Boudreau's name?
Well, we know from the day of the original search warrants back in November that Melanie was currently living directly next door to Lori. And so in an effort to see if there was any relation between the disappearance of the kids and Melanie in this case, we generated her name as well.
Okay. Detective, did you submit a request to the state of Arizona?
I did.
Can you look at States Exhibit 93A? Did you receive a response from the state of Arizona?
I did.
What was that?
This was just notification stating that the Department of Arizona prescription monitoring program, there's no record of narcotics or opioids being prescribed to any of the parties that I listed in the email.
Okay. And to your, pursuant to your conversation with Arizona, do they check for Does their drug prescription registry check for drugs that are not narcotics or opioids?
They do not. They only track the opioid-based drugs.
Okay. So, Detective, did your search of prescription drug registries lead you to any information that helped you find Joshua Jackson or J.J. Vallow or Tylee Ryan?
No.
Detective, can you turn to State's Exhibit 96A?
Okay.
Do you recognize that document?
I do.
What is it?
This is an email that Lori Vallow sent to her accountant, Michael Edson, inquiring about forwarding of tax return monies.
Okay. May I publish, Your Honor?
You may.
Detective, what was significant about that document to your investigation?
Well, first off, she's explaining that Charles Vallow, her former husband, had passed away, and she was looking for information on how to obtain monies to be forwarded to her address as she was moving. In and of itself, it appears just to be a normal exchange of information that she's requesting. But if you look at the date and time, that's the part that stands out to us as the investigators.
And why was that? Why was the date and time significant?
Well, the date of the email sent was September 9th, and pursuant to our investigation, we believe Tylee was killed between the 8th and 9th of September. And the time on the email that was sent was 5:03 p.m. So this is just hours after Tylee was, we believe, buried in the backyard of Chad Daybell.
Okay.
Your Honor, I'm going to object for speculation. I think we're guessing here. I'd move to strike.
Your Honor, I think the detective is allowed to testify about his conclusions and findings and why that document was significant and the timing of it was significant.
All right.
It goes to weight and not admissibility.
That will go to cross-examination if you'd like, Mr. Archibald, but I'll overrule that objection.
Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 98A?
Okay.
Do you recognize that document?
Yes.
What is it?
These are the documents from American Airlines. They're all flight records that we received when we submitted our search warrant.
Did you find any search history for Tylee Ryan or J.J. Vallow or Lori Vallow in these documents?
Yes, there was flight history for both Tylee and Lori. Tylee flew in to Hawaii twice. I mentioned yesterday as well, in February and in March. She flew to Hawaii, and Lori had traveled multiple times on American Airlines. There was no record of JJ flying American Airlines at all.
Okay. And what was the time frame in which you did this search?
We requested our search from the 1st of January to 2019 through the current date of the search warrant.
And do you recall what that was?
The exact date, I don't know, but it was early on in the investigation. I believe it was in February
February of what year?
2020.
Okay. So just to clarify, you found two flights for Tylee Ryan to Hawaii
Yes.
and multiple flights for Lori Vallow.
Yes.
Were any of those flights of Lori Vallow of any interest to you?
On or around the time of Tammy Daybell's funeral, she returned from Hawaii to Phoenix and then made her way by flight to Idaho Falls.
Okay. Do you recall the dates of those flights?
I believe it's the 23rd of October.
Okay. Do you know what day Tammy Daybell's funeral was?
October 23rd, 2019.
Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 100?
May I inquire of the clerk, did State's Exhibit 100 get admitted into evidence?
I show that's been admitted.
Do you have State's Exhibit 100?
I do. It's a business records affidavit.
Yes. Your Honor, I need to briefly inquire of defense counsel for one moment, if that's all right.
All right, after you've done that, let's have a brief sidebar as well. There's a couple of issues on the exhibits I want to discuss
Yep.
with counsel as well. We'll go back on the record after that break now to just clarify on the record the exhibits we've got. Mr. Wood, one of the issues that came up is Exhibit 93 has already been testified to and published, but we don't believe was admitted previously, so at this time I would ask the state to move for its admission, and we'll see if there's any objection.
The state so moves, Your Honor.
All right, any objection to that Exhibit 93 having been admitted and now published to the jury?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, counsel, for that. And then, Mr. Wood, if you would clarify on the record here with Exhibit 100, and I believe we've got that remarked now and organized as well, but could you indicate on the record where we're at with Exhibit 100?
Yes, thank you. Exhibit 100, there were two Exhibit 100 submitted. One was the records of a business records custodian, or an affidavit of a business records custodian, and the other were the actual records. The actual records have now been marked as Exhibit 100A.
Okay, and is there any objection to Exhibit, has that been offered yet?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, any objection to Exhibit 100A being admitted?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, Exhibit 100A is also admitted then, so we can go ahead and continue on with the examination now, Mr. Wood. Thank you.
Thank you. Detective, do you have a copy of State's Exhibit 100? And I just realized, Your Honor, that I think the detective's copy might still be marked as 100.
If you'd like, you can
Both of the
approach
documents.
with, or have the bailiff have him your correct copy to make sure we're publishing the right thing.
Thank you. Detective, do you recognize State's Exhibit 100A?
I do.
What is it?
These are records we obtained through Southwest Airlines through a subpoena.
Okay. And what was the significance of those records in your investigation?
We had come across information that Southwest Airlines was being used by Ms. Vallow, so we inquired and we were able to obtain the records in the hopes of locating whether or not JJ or Tylee had traveled.
And did you find if JJ or Tylee had ever traveled on Southwest Airlines in the relevant time period?
Yes. JJ had 6 trips, and they're all between Phoenix and Houston. And the last trip, I believe, the record states is June 12th. I believe was the last time he flew. Or correction, June 16th.
Okay. But no flights after that for JJ Vallow?
No flights after that.
Did you find any flights for Tylee Ryan
Did not.
on Southwest Airlines? Okay. Thank you. And Detective, do you have State's Exhibit 99A?
Yes.
What is State's Exhibit 99A?
These are flight records from Allegiant Airlines that we obtained through the issuance of a search warrant.
Okay, and what was the significance of these records to your investigation?
Well, as we learned yesterday, there were flights being paid for, which we found in the financial records of Lori Vallow, so we obtained flight information to see if JJ or Tylee have been flown anywhere.
Okay, and what did you find in those records?
There are no flights showing that JJ or Tylee flew on Allegiant Airlines in our time frame that we searched for.
Okay, did you find any other flights of interest?
There were several flights that from between Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow, Melanie Boudreau. There was a lot of travel between Idaho Falls and Phoenix Mesa during that time frame.
Okay. And did that aid your investigation in any way?
I can think of nothing else at this time.
Okay.
Your Honor, if the court will just give me a brief second to convene with.
Go ahead.
I apologize, Your Honor. If you could just give me one moment. I just have a couple more brief questions, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Detective, can you look at State's Exhibit 97? I would note, Your Honor, that 97 came in both as the affidavit of the records custodian and the records were attached to it.
Okay.
Do you recognize State's Exhibit 97?
Is this the Etsy?
So it's a document from Etsy.
Correct. A document from Etsy.
What is Etsy?
It's an online store you can purchase items through. They're not too familiar with them as I've never used them, but I understand you can use them to purchase items and they'll mail them to you.
Okay. Can you turn to the second page marked? It's shown as Exhibit A.
Okay.
And may I publish, Your Honor?
You may.
Detective, what does this document show?
It shows that on August 15th, the buyer, the shipping name was Lori Vallow, and it shows a description of what was provided by the shop owner.
Okay. And what is the description of item?
It says glow-in-the-dark malachite inlay titanium ring.
Okay.
Glow-in-the-dark malachite inlay titanium ring, both 8 millimeters.
And what is the
Okay. Glow-in-the-dark malachite inlay titanium ring.
Detective, for the record, will you spell malachite?
M-A-L-A-C-H-I-T-E.
And what was the order date?
August 15th of 2019.
And who was the purchaser?
Lori Vallow?
Okay. And was there an email account associated with this purchase or attempted purchase?
Yes.
What is that?
lollytime@icloud.com.
Okay. And was there an address given for that item to be shipped to?
The address listed was 5531 South Four Peaks Place, Chandler, Arizona, 85249.
Okay. What was significant about that to you, Detective, in your investigation?
On the bottom column, if it's still up on the screen, and there's a credit card that was used that ended in, on the very loud bottom there, 7213, which is a card for Lori Vallow. The card was ultimately declined.
Okay. Is there anything else significant about that purchase or attempted purchase?
It's that they appeared to be wedding rings.
Okay.
I'll object to that, Your Honor. That is apparently speculation. There's nothing on the document saying it's a wedding ring.
I'll sustain the objection and ask the jurors to disregard the previous response.
Your Honor, the state has no further questions at this time.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Wood. Who will be conducting cross-examination?
Your Honor, I've reviewed all the documents Detective Kunsaitis has introduced. I don't have any questions for him.
All right. There will be no cross-examination of this witness then, so that will conclude testimony of Detective Kunsaitis. Any objection to him being released?
No objection.
Your Honor, we are asking that he not be released. Detective Kunsaitis had multiple roles in this investigation and will be recalled to testify about completely separate matters.
Okay, understood. So he's the state's witness, so I'll leave that up to the state's discretion as to whether he needs a return. I don't know if he's here under subpoena, but apparently they'll want you back at a later date, and you can talk to the prosecutors about that. So that will conclude your testimony for now, though. I will remind you then, if you are to be recalled, I'll be hopefully remembering, as I have with every witness, to ensure that you have not followed any further trial testimony in the interim. So please abide by that if you're going to be recalled. And with that, then the state, if you've got another witness to call at this time, you can.
Your Honor, the state calls Mike Douglas.